You know, if you, I mean, I don't even think you guys remember this, but I'm gonna say this. If you would have listened to me right now, since I did that video about 2 or 3 months ago, you would have made $120,000 on average. Now, I want you to think about this, because $120,000 like over 3 months, if we divide that by like 3, that's $40,000. But there's something bigger than that, because sometimes $40,000 doesn't hit as hard for people. I want you to really think about this. Making $120,000 in 3 months is the equivalent of getting 600 blowjobs in South Florida. Now, this is very important math, because you have to understand that that's 200 blowjobs a month. So if we take 200 blowjobs a month, like I just want you to kind of understand this, because I think sometimes people really get confused, and we divide it by the 30 days in an average month. Like, do you realize that that means you could have had 6 blowjobs a day? Now, I want you to take a moment and think to yourself, how would my life change if I had the option of having 6 blowjobs a day? I would argue pretty good, you know, pretty good. So, yeah. Welcome back to Exotic Car Hacks, and today we are talking about how I was right once again. And my ego keeps getting bigger and people keep hating on me even more because I keep proving them wrong. And no, this time it's not because I bought one more car and I'm richer than ever before. Well, the richer part is accurate, but not that I bought another car. The GT2 RS, which I shared on this channel as a car to watch that was going to be rising in price significantly, just closed Monterey Car Week at $550K for a black car. Now, I want to mention that at the time we did that original video, I told you these cars could be bought in the high 3s, low 4s, and that they were still an amazing car to buy because values would start going up very, very much instantly after I did that video. I mentioned the pista market had moved and that you guys needed to have paid attention to that video from a year ago, but I then mentioned to you guys specifically that, hey, take a look at the GT2 RS market. It is moving and it's going to fly. And guess what happened last week? It flew. And so today, those of you that listened could have made well over 6 figures just holding on to a GT2 RS or buying one if you paid attention then. But this wasn't the only car that set a record in Monterey. As a matter of fact, there was also another car that sits here in this collection that I talked about that, again, people were sleeping on, thinking I'm crazy. If you paid attention to the data, you can follow me up here. There was a red 355 1997 6-speed Spider that cleared auction at 350 plus grand. Now, this is a pretty big deal because the 1997 was not as desirable as the 1995 gated, and it also wasn't as desirable as the coupe. So with the car bringing $330,000, back when I told you I bought this car in the 150s, and that this was, even though it was kind of a junk car in terms at the time of having multiple repairs that it needed, and yet at the time I had overpaid for it. And people on YouTube felt that I was an idiot because obviously I had overpaid for a car and I'm the Exotic Car Hacks guy, and I mentioned very clearly that these cars would be trending up, and so it was the right time to buy the right car despite their need for repairs, even if it costs a little bit more, just based on availability alone. And lo and behold, that market now has started moving. So I am up now almost double for what I paid on this car in less than 6 months. Yet another example of cars that are or have been moving exactly as predicted in the past. So if you've been following the channel, we talk a lot about markets, what's happening and what's growing. And Monterey Car Week was a very, very good week for a lot of different cars and a very average week for a lot of other cars. So we saw that resto mods are starting to become a really real thing. Singer, Gunter Works, CZ Singer, and some of these new companies that people haven't really heard of that are coming out of woodworks creating $1 million+ cars are gaining significant popularity despite not coming from conventional manufacturers like McLaren, Lamborghini, and so on and so forth. And we saw the price index of everything rising up with inflation due to bad tariff economic policy. So again, we are seeing all these things happen across the board, and we are seeing the car market continue to start moving, especially as it pertains to newer stuff. So two key things I've been talking about over the last year, and if you follow the Exotic Car Hacks conference, if you haven't, we'll put a link at the bottom so you can actually buy a ticket and watch the replay. We talked specifically with other industry experts who are selling collector cars and talked about what will become more collectible over the next 5 years. And we had all agreed on the determination that what would become more collectible are the 90s and 2000 supercars over the 80s and 70s cars. And while there are, of course, record numbers that are coming out of some of these older cars, just the scarcity and the lack of liquidity aren't really the cars that are being traded in anymore. So what can you expect in the next 12 months? Let's just focus on two key cars that have yet to pop and are on the rise, but have yet to pop into their next big dollar. And those two cars, simply put, are 993s, which are going to have huge popularity with the rise of these resto mods. And two, one of my favorite fucking cars, the LP640 Coupes and Roadsters. So these cars I've been talking about over the last year, 2 years. I said that those cars and the Ford GTs were truly undervalued cars and were cars that would eventually move into the $1 million mark. I actually expect the LP640 specifically to start moving a lot faster than people expected, with most of the inventory on the market today being bought out by dealers, not people. This is a good sign that dealers are anticipating this hike to take place in the next 12 months. If you pay attention to all the data points right now on the LP640 market, specifically the 08 and 09, you'll notice that the majority of dealers now are buying every single old Murcielago that's gated and every single LP640 that's E-gear or gated and putting them out. Now, the gated market for the LP640 non-converted market is well into the million. We get that, that's not an issue, but let's face reality. The majority of these E-gear cars are still significantly undervalued compared to the Diablo market, compared to the Aventador SVJ market, and compared to the unit numbers and collectability they hold. So here's my next prediction for you guys, since I nailed the last two, and many people, again, especially the brokies sitting at home, just don't seem to understand how money functions. These cars, the LP640s, are going to start moving very fast. So are the 993 Porsches. So if you're currently holding a 993 or currently holding an LP640 or about to buy one, this is still a very good time to get in on those two particular models, especially as it pertains to the 2S with Aero Kit, 4S with Aero Kit, and of course all the turbos and GT series. Do not buy cars that have already had huge inflation numbers. Instead, buy the cars that the average collector is going to be able to get into and have their nostalgia and be able to hold for a while driving. So this has been my next set of predictions. Again, with some of the other predictions I was right on. I've been right like 98% of the time over the last 20 years. So I'd take that with a grain of salt, whatever you want it to be. But reality is that people are making money following this guideline of how we're reading the car markets at Exotic Car Hacks. So if you want to actually learn how to hack cars because you're tired of losing money on cars, click the first link and actually learn that. If you are ready to actually start collecting cars and making money on cars, click the second link and actually join Exotic Car Hacks. Huge opportunities out there in the markets, and hopefully you've been paying attention to these videos. If you'd like to see more videos like this, put in the comment and tell me what car you think is going to start skyrocketing that people aren't paying attention to. And otherwise, I'll catch you next time for Exotic Car Hacks.